Hello, I'm Colleen Gallagher, CEO at OnWrd UpWrd, and you're listening to the Association Insights podcast powered by OnWrd UpWrd, where each week we interview association leaders from across the country to hear how they're trying new things, taking big risks, and delivering value for their members. We'll explore the realities of what it means to work in and with associations and bring you the insights and inspiration you need to advance your career and make big changes at your association. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Association Insights podcast powered by OnWrd UpWrd. I'm your host, Colleen Gallagher, and I'm really looking forward to today's conversation. Leslie Frazier, the SVP of Community and Industry Relations for the Virginia REALTORS, is joining us. Leslie is a strategic leader with a passion for building strong organizations, meaningful partnerships, and communities that thrive. She has experience spanning association management, government and politics, and community engagement, and specializes in leading mission-driven organizations, aligning boards and teams, and turning bold ideas into real-world impact. Leslie, I'm so thrilled to have you join us today. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Colleen. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, I know everyone is probably familiar with the concept of a realtor and, what it means to hire one and to work with one to buy and sell a home. But I'm assuming fewer understand the role an association like Virginia REALTORS plays behind the scenes. So I'd love to hear more about who do you serve, more about the organization and how you support, realtors and homeowners across Virginia.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a great question. And thank you for pronouncing realtor correctly. That's probably the biggest misconception. Everyone says, oh yeah, my realtor this or realtor that. And it's realtor. Realtors are licensed real estate agents, but they pay dues or members of the Realtor Association. And we're kind of unique in that we have a three-way agreement. So you have the National Association of Realtors, you have state associations like mine, Virginia REALTORS, and then you have local realtor associations. And I really like that setup. We really thrive together as a family. So it really is like our members are paying one membership and getting three levels of benefits. We are the largest trade association in the state. We've got nearly 33,000 members, 33 staff. It's a pretty big organization and footprint. And a lot of realtors know they're a member if they're local, because that's, where they go and do their new membership orientation or kind of the first stop as they become a member of the Realtor family. And then with the National Association of Realtors, high-level advocacy, the Realtor trademark name. But a lot don't really know they're a member of the state as well. And I really think we play a crucial role in being the bridge between local associations and the National Association. We do all the advocacy at the state level. Virginia is one of 3 states, I believe, with a chief economist. So we provide our members with a lot of research and data. And as things are getting more and more expensive, we really saw spikes in home prices since the pandemic. How can we advocate for more housing, different types of housing, and really help our members better serve their clients?
Yeah, that's incredible. And it really is a profession too, where that state level support must be so helpful. So it's cool to hear all that you do and having the economists and everything in today's world. I'm sure that's right up there on the ROI meter.
Yes. I nerd out over a lot of their reports and they produce so many and it's a wonderful team and part of our bigger team.
Awesome. Well, I was so impressed when I saw your career path and it just looked so incredibly unique, from political campaigns and state government to association leadership and community relations. How have these experiences shaped the way you approach leadership and your work today?
So what do they say? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. I feel like I've always been prepared, but I've kind of stumbled into these different positions and different pivots in my career, but it really has made for a wonderful career thus far. And I really am only just getting started. So on the political campaign front, it was, I hope I find a job after college. I knew some people working on one. I graduated college from the University of Virginia in 2012. So I worked President Obama's reelection campaign and just everything from knocking doors, talking to strangers to training. I trained an 8-year-old one time how to make phone calls. That was the cutest thing ever. It really kind of gave me the early foundation of hard work and how to talk to a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds, especially if you're trying to persuade them of something. And I think that kind of laid the foundation for a lot of my strengths today. I would say that relationship building is my greatest strength. And from the political campaigns, I joined Governor Terry McAuliffe's gubernatorial administration. I worked on his campaign as well. And that kind of laid the policy foundation, because I did veterans and military policy for him, and then the same in foster care and adoption policy for Governor Northam before coming to the association management space. So campaigns, political administrations, and government. And then I know a lot of us shouldn't say this, and I keep saying I shouldn't say this, but I do. I stumbled into association management September 2020, and I really haven't looked back. It's been so rewarding.
That's amazing. I do feel like that's the common theme, though, for association professionals, because no one goes to school to work at an association, but so many of us end up there. I mean, that was my first job out of college, and I had never even heard of what an association was. So I feel that. Awesome. Well, I know advocacy is not your main lane there, but you know a lot about it, and it's clearly a major strategy priority for Virginia Realtors. So what does effective advocacy look like today, for an association operating in such a fast-moving political and economic environment?
Effective advocacy, right? We all want that. We all need that. Advocacy is certainly one of our biggest benefits as trade associations, especially for an organization like the Realtors. And in Virginia, we are unique in that, the governor cannot succeed themselves. We have our first female governor now, and Governor Abigail Spanberger. And even in the 6 years I've been at Virginia Realtors, there's been a lot of shifts each year in who's occupied the governor's mansion, that political party, the makeup of our legislature. So we are constantly navigating a fast moving and changing political environment, maybe more than most. And that's where the relationships come into play. I mean, we have a PAC that we do a lot of fundraising for. We have a committee that works on the fundraising side and another committee that works on the disbursement side. We interview candidates when we're looking at how we're going to support their campaigns. And it really is bipartisan. If there's a housing champion and we've done the interview and feel like that person would be a great ally of ours, and then ultimately maybe carry some legislation for us, there's an extensive process we go through to interview them, but also kind of show up at their events, send out mailers, the typical advocacy things. But for us, it's really big on making sure that it is bipartisan, making sure that we're creating a greater message of housing, because we all need housing, right? Regardless of your political party, regardless if you are wealthy or if you're not, right? Housing is kind of a core pillar that is translating into so many things. They say a house is where jobs go to die at night, right? So how do we make sure we have adequate housing so that we can have the workforce that's needed to fill all of these jobs that are coming in and out of Virginia?
And that's so hard to do. And I think one thing I see associations struggling with too is, how do you communicate around those issues that become politicized? Which, when you think about affordability for housing, equity, economic opportunity, that can be a lightning rod. So how are you approaching those conversations, in a way that you can still focus on trust and credibility and bipartisanship when you need to?
Right. Ooh. Yeah, something is always going to be politicized, right? I could wear a certain color shirt and someone might assume I'm making a statement. Who knows, right? So we all have to deal with that. We're all going to navigate that, and there will be challenges. For us, it really goes back to the relationships that we were talking about, making sure that we have relationships regardless of who's in the governor's mansion, the leaders in our legislature, the business leaders like our state chamber. We really keep those relationships strong. I think a big thing for us lately has been kind of diversifying our message and also who carries that message. So when I left Governor Northam's administration to go to Virginia Realtors, and I shared it, I was excited, right, with a couple of friends and colleagues. And some of them said, "You're going to the Realtors? They don't really care about the little guy. Like, all they care about is, helping their members sell mansions." And I'm like, that is a complete misconception, first of all. But two, I really dug into that. Well, why do they feel like we only don't care about the little guy? And initially, and I know we'll probably talk about this at some point, but I was brought in to lead our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. And if you look at the makeup of populations in Virginia changing, our membership is changing demographics-wise, age-wise. We have to be able to serve a growingly diverse membership that's serving a growingly diverse population. And I think from there, looking at, okay, we're advocating for housing, yes, people to buy houses, but it's really sad that someone that's making, let's say, $90,000 in Richmond is struggling to buy a home. That's someone with a good job, right? So how do we make sure we're carrying that message, who we're talking about when we say we want to help people buy homes, but also looking at who's carrying that message. And our board and our leadership has gotten a lot more diverse, more representative of different parts of the state, different ages. We've got some younger folks on our board now that are bringing in kind of that newer perspective and bringing in technology. So a lot of it has been communication in a way that is resonating with a greater group.
You know what I love is that you didn't get defensive. You leaned into the question and thought, why are people thinking this? I feel like if more of us did that, we'd make so many more solutions and progress in terms of like our brand awareness and what people think of us. So that's really impressive.
I was a little scared, right? I'm leaving government. I'm going to a whole new space. And one of the first things I'm told is, oh God, you're going to that place. But I turned the fear into opportunity, as you said.
I love that. Well, I do want to dig into the DEI efforts a bit more. And I know in today's climate that can feel a bit challenging. So how are you thinking about building belonging, expanding representation in a way that really feels authentic and that's sustainable with your mission for Virginia Realtors?
Yeah, so a lot of this goes to the data, just the facts. And as I mentioned, I think, and I might misquote this, but I think Virginia is now maybe 58% white. And then the rest of the state, the other 42% are people of color. And you've got people of color who've been here a long time. You've got those who are coming into Virginia from other states, those that are coming in from other countries. And if people want to make Virginia home, which I certainly hope they do, it's been my home for over 35 years. How do we make sure that they have a safe place to live? How do we make sure that they're involved in their community? And, housing is in the core of all that. And we have really worked hard to make sure we're understanding different trends amongst buyers. You're seeing more multi-generational families buying now, which is something very different than the past. It is very common amongst Latinos, for example. So maybe you've got, the abuela, and then their 30-year-old daughter's helping them, and maybe they have a 3-year-old. So you've got 3 different generations in a house speaking different languages. How do we educate our members that they may come across clients that way? And how are they equipped to be able to help understand their clients' needs? That was a big core pillar of our DEI message. I knew coming in, heightened time, this is 2020, when I started at the association, still very much thick in the pandemic. And even though I knew I was coming in for DEI efforts, I said, okay, this is a hot topic issue that at some point it won't be the hot topic. So how do we create an infrastructure that is going to last? How do we weave DEI into the fabric of our association? And a lot of that just started with conversations, understanding where the association had been as it related to DEI, but also looking at the data and seeing the growing diversity of our membership and our clients, or our Realtors clients. And we just had a lot of conversations. We created an advisory group that really worked hard for 2 years to kind of build our plan. We looked at our marketing and thought, okay, if we want people from different parts of the state or different backgrounds to come to our convention in Richmond, how do we show them that they belong? How do we do the same thing when we do our call for volunteers? So it started off very grassroots, just conversations, making sure we showcased more diversity when we did our call for volunteers, and all of that made people feel like, wow, okay, something's different about Virginia Realtors that I never really noticed before. Maybe I should get involved. And our board and our volunteer leaders look a lot different today than they did. And I think that has been so key. It's also been what has made our efforts last. We haven't changed our name. I know a lot of organizations have had to do that for various reasons. At a state, it's a little easier because we're not a national organization. But we kept it at the core of, hey, we want to help our growingly diverse membership and help them help their clients. And I think keeping it that way and weaving DEI into our existing programming, existing committee work, existing events, as opposed to doing one-offs, is why we've been able to keep it up and continue the work.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think what really stands out for me, and I hope our listeners pay attention to, is that you really focus on those relationships, the conversations, and building belonging. And isn't that what associations do when it comes down to it?
We should.
Right? So I feel like for any of those that might be struggling with political sensitivities or whatever it is, to just bring it back to that. Like, that's what associations do. And without this, who are we? So I like that approach. And I feel like that really grounds it. I think in general, one thing that stood out to me is how much Virginia Realtors emphasizes and member support. There was just so much that you do for your members. How does an association then like that balance being an everyday partner for members and being an advocacy organization and everything you do for your members, how do you do it all?
I mean, one, we have a great team. I mentioned those 33 staff that we have. I mean, some of them have been with the organization a few months and others have been there 30 plus years. And we have the advocacy team, we have a research team, we've got events and education, communications. We've got someone like me that kind of bounces in between all of the departments and gets to work with everyone. And I mean, it is our team, the people that really care about our members, care about the mission, and want to see our organization thrive. But I do think being an advocacy organization helps us be a partner too for members, because while someone may think, okay, what you're doing in Richmond in January in the General Assembly have anything to do with what's happening here in Southwest Virginia? And it's, well, a new hotel or casino has popped up. Is there enough housing here for those employees to have work? Oh, well, no, I hadn't thought about it that way. Well, we're doing things in Richmond to help advocate for things in this part of the state. So it really is how we just push that message all around. We've done a better job internally. And I know this seems simple, but I think it's easy, especially for an organization our size. We're not huge, but for a state, we are. For staff to kind of do their own thing in their own bubbles. And we've really been working hard to break down internal silos. If one of us is traveling and we're giving a very specific presentation, before we get into the presentation, have a slide on, here's what we do as an association that kind of talks about all of it. So we're increasing our touch points as each of us go out and about and travel with our membership or with our partners. Small things like that, I think, go a long way to continue having the same message and having the same message with different audiences.
I think that's like the golden rule for associations. You have to communicate the impact. Like if you don't tell members why it matters, how are they supposed to know?
The wisdom, right? That's in it for the member.
Yes. Yeah. We're always hammering that home with our clients too. And it's like, you're not annoying them. You're telling them why it matters. So,
because they didn't read the email, but if you tell them in person the same thing you just emailed them, it'll stick. Somehow.
Exactly. Too funny. So we've talked a bit about your, experience in that community organizing and the relationship building aspect of it. What is one thing that you would say you've learned about relationship building that association professionals might underestimate?
Yeah, definitely how important it is. And I know we say that, right? Everyone says that. But when we have different partners we work with, maybe there's a formal agreement that an association has with some partners. But how often do you genuinely check in on them? How often are you doing not just a one-on-one about business, but you get to the business, but you ask that person, how are you doing? How's your family? Oh my gosh, did so-and-so graduate from college last week? The little touches here and there really go a long way at building and sustaining those relationships. And I think we're all right now trying to do more with less, and we're stressed. I've been to more and more association events that have had a session on burnout, on mental health and wellness. I've attended all of those sessions, but I think it's so easy for us to get so caught up in our lanes and forget about the simple touch points that will make our work easier overall. And for me, that is the relationship building there, really just how important it is not to do it, but really to do it in a genuine way and increase those smaller points.
Another point I wanted to come back to is you talked about having the chief economist, having data. How important is data and research? When we've heard how important it is for you, but just in terms of associations in general, how is it helping strengthen that voice and influence externally?
Our research team is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, a strong 4-person team led by our chief economist, Ryan Price. And what makes them so special, I mean, I love them all individually as people, but they have the ability to take this very complex market data and break it down so simply that our Realtor members can understand it, and then they can also communicate it to their clients, which is so important. And it's also so important in terms of our clients seeing the value in using a Realtor, and then the Realtor seeing the value in their association dues. And, the median home price for Virginia, a home sold last year was $426,000, which in Northern Virginia, that may not sound like anything, but maybe down in Danville, people are like, what in the world? Like, that is so high. I haven't purchased a house at that price, and I'm in Richmond, but we definitely are seeing it pop up more. So just to tell that story, or the National Association of Realtors put out a recent statistic that the median first-time home buyer age is now 40. I mean, I think about I purchased my first house at 27. So 13 years potential loss of equity and building generational wealth. And we're hitting these all-time highs just because of how expensive everything is. So having the data to back that up, or a simple point like those two I just mentioned that our members can carry with their clients and then hone in on that message. I'm here to help you, though, achieve your dream of home ownership, right? And we're going to do this together, and we're going to find a way, even if it, is only a month and you have a smooth process, or maybe it might take a year or two, right? Maybe someone needs to kind of rebuild their credit and rebuild some financial readiness before they're able to buy, but emphasizing that throughout, realtors are here to help, and we've got data and research to support. I actually had to give a presentation at an event on Friday down in Hampton Roads, and I was initially asked to just give a state of housing update. I thought, okay, I could do that. And then I agreed to it before they emailed me the specifics. And it was, can you talk about, the supply shortage and all the market trends and all this data? And I thought, oh my gosh, you all want an economist for 15 minutes. Freaked out a little bit, but I am a data nerd and I love what our research team does. And I got with them, they provided me some slides and I was able to do okay. But, without that support, but then this was to an audience of mostly non-realtors, but other housing professionals. So though for them to be getting some crucial data just on how, let's say, we're underbuilding, for example, which is why you see a lot of people moving further south, North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, they're building more than we are. So just having a slide to explain that, and people are now understanding, oh, this is why we're maybe seeing people leave, really, and for them to get that message from the Realtor Association is really helpful. So yeah, our research team is absolutely amazing, and they provide some amazing reports for our local associations and our members.
Numbers can tell, stories too. So that's awesome. Shifting gears a little, we've got ASAE's MMC Tech coming up and then annual later this summer. And I know you're very involved in ASAE and you're a DELP scholar and someone very, deeply involved in leadership development. So I would love your take on what leadership skills you think association professionals need most right now, especially those emerging leaders that are just stuck in this world of change and uncertainty.
So one, I will say DELP, the Diversity Executive Leadership Program through ASAE, has been the leadership program I've been a part of that has changed my life the most. I mean, I have met some wonderful people within my class with the greater DELP community, but also just the greater ASAE community. And I have never felt a program pour and invest so much into me as this one has. And we were corporately members of ASAE, but I had never done anything with ASAE prior to DELP. So DELP was really my introduction into the greater association space. And through that program, I have just learned so much. I obtained my CAE through the program, but also learned a lot more about industries other than just the realtors, especially when you're in a larger association space like ours. Nationally, there's 1.3 million realtors, so it can be easy to only see your realtor lane. So yeah, I will forever be grateful to DELP and ASAE for that. But, the leadership skills that folks need, I know we have talked about relationship building, and I'm going to beat it into the floor again, because I think that is so important. If you're leading an organization, small team, large team, you're going to have people from all different backgrounds with a lot of different opinions that want to feel heard, want to feel included. And you won't know that until you get to know them, right? And understand the different perspectives that they have and where they're coming from. So I think it is really important for leaders to take that time, find a way to carve some time out of a busy day, maybe have ChatGPT do something that you can have an extra 30 minutes for, just to genuinely talk to people. I think for younger professionals, I'm a millennial, and, we always have the generational divides, and I am now at that point where I'm starting to say things about, Gen Zers and
When did I become this?
I'm like, this new generation, I don't know about them. But then I meet an amazing one and I'm like, okay, we'll be okay. But, we often talk about the lack of soft skills. I feel like that, older generations have always said that about the younger generations, but I do find myself saying that too. And while things are evolving, I used to work in an office where we had to wear strictly business attire every day. And now we have a pretty casual dress attire. So I think understanding how to adapt, but still also emphasizing the importance of professionalism, networking. And I think a lot of young people, maybe those especially that kind of were hit hard in high school and college by COVID, might be lacking some of those skills. So I would encourage them to go to as many events as you can. If you're uncomfortable just walking up to a stranger to talking to them, good. Like, to grow, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I am an extrovert by nature, and that is very easy for me. But I have some friends where the level of anxiety it gives them to be in a social happy hour and to go talk to strangers, it's a lot. So maybe it's find a buddy and the two of you go talk to, I don't know, the keynote speaker for this event that's hanging out at a table chatting with folks, or is there someone there you saw on the list you want to connect with, go find them. And then don't let the conversation stop there. Say, hey, I love chatting with you this 5 minutes, but we'll love to get on your calendar sometime, maybe for 30 minutes. How do I get a hold of you? And I think that tip right there, building your network and then asking that person to connect you, let's say to 3 people in their network, will exponentially grow your network influence. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll be.
I love that advice. And I do think you have to be uncomfortable. I mean, I know no one wants to, but you've got to do it. So that's what I tell people too. So, well, crystal ball time, as we look ahead, what are you most excited about for both Virginia Realtors, but also for the broader association industry over these next couple of years?
For Virginia Realtors, I'm really excited at how we are starting to position ourselves even more so as a go-to resource, not just as it relates to housing expertise. We are growing in our expertise there. I mentioned our research reports starting to get in the hands of not only elected officials and business partners, but in front of groups beyond just the realtor space and just our members. But I think we're also becoming a bigger voice in the association community at large. And I think it's so important for us to learn, especially as we're all trying to do more with less. And we are too, even though we're a good size organization, learning best practices of other associations. I think everyone is struggling right now with in-person butts in seats events. And I know we are. And we're trying to reimagine our conferences and switch things up. But other associations are experiencing the same thing. So it's refreshing in that regard because we don't have to do things alone. We can lean in and tap into our friends in other spaces. Maybe it's partnering more with associations or entities that people don't normally think would be a fit. Like, for example, in Virginia, we're talking about housing, but there are a lot of organizations that we want to think about housing beyond just the typical housing organization. So I talked earlier about median home price being so high now. How can the average teacher, for example, afford a house? It'd be really challenging, but they're in an excellent needed profession. So maybe it's us partnering with the Virginia Education Association and getting in front of their members to talk about housing, right? I think that coalition building, really thinking outside the box, is going to be so key, not just for Virginia Realtors, but all of us the next few years.
I like the optimism, and I think there is a lot of opportunity if we embrace it. So I love that. This has been so fun and just so many awesome insights. But before we let you go, we like to wrap up all of our podcasts with some just for fun lightning style questions here. So first one is, what's one small thing that brings you joy lately?
This brings me joy all the time, but I tell everyone binge watching TV is my self-care. And with this holiday weekend, in the rain, I did nothing but lay around and watch television. It was great.
Oh, it sounds amazing. I love that. Okay, so what are you currently obsessed with? Is one of those TV shows, a book, show, hobby, you name it?
Yeah, so I just watched Nemesis on Netflix.
I haven't seen that yet.
It just dropped last week. So it's a really good show. I have a tendency to fall in love with the show that, of course, only has one season, and then you're going to wait 2 years for the new season. But I won't spoil it. But it's basically a show about a gentleman. He's leading kind of a crime team, and there's a lead lieutenant officer trying to find him. And it's kind of they're each other's nemesis.
I love it already. It's on my list.
But yeah, and they're both very attractive. I'll just say that to my ladies and some fellas out there. It was a nice way to watch TV this weekend.
Amazing. Okay, what's your ideal comfort food?
Korean fried chicken. I'm Black and Korean, and I mean, who doesn't love fried chicken? But just the double fried with a good sweet and spicy sauce. Oh, delicious.
Nice. I love it. Okay, last one. What's a travel moment that still makes you smile when you think about it?
Yeah, so probably the fanciest, if you will, trip, furthest location I've ever been. I've been to South Africa a few times, and I went on a safari my first time there and touched and fed an elephant. And I was terrified because I'd never been that close to a creature that big. There's no fence. There's nothing. I mean,
I can't even imagine.
To take my life, she could have, but I got a really cool picture, and it was just amazing being in front of a creature that beautiful and big.
Wow, that is really cool. Well, Leslie, thank you so much. This was really fun, really insightful, and I just so enjoyed having you on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Colleen, for all you're doing for our profession and for having me. I had so much fun today.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. The Association Insights podcast, powered by OnWrd and UpWrd, is a production of OnWrd and UpWrd Marketing and Communications, where our mission is to make associations and nonprofits the go-to source in their industries through earned media and thought leadership. This podcast is an extension of our newsletter, a weekly collection of best practices, top trends, helpful ideas, and smart strategies delivered straight to your inbox. Have you undertaken a big change at your association? Or do you have some words of wisdom from the trenches of association life? Well, we want to hear from you, and so do our listeners. Drop us a note at info@onwardupwrd.com. That's info@onwrdupwrd.com. Be sure to subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and share with your friends and colleagues. We're available anywhere podcasts are found. Come back next week for more association inspiration and insights. Thanks for tuning in.